Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the conversation. And today I got a pretty interesting topic looking into the playoffs in the first round. So the question is, will Kawhi Leonard be able to dominate Luka Doncic and the Mavs in the first round, in round one in these playoffs? So that's what I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also make sure you hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content so you don't miss anything. Now, the Clippers are the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, and the Mavericks are the number 7 seed. And for me, I think it's going to be one of the more interesting first round matchups just because of the matchup between Luka Doncic and Kawhi Leonard. Now, for a lot of you out there, you may know that, Luka Doncic has had probably one of the greatest sophomore seasons in the history of the NBA. Let's look at his numbers. For this season, he's averaging 28.8 points a game, virtually 29 points a game, 9.4 rebounds, and 8.8 assists. If you go a little deeper into his numbers, he's playing 33 and a half minutes a game. He's shooting 46.3% from the floor, which is a pretty good field goal percentage. He's shooting 31.6% from the three-point line. He's attempting 8.9 and making 2.8 three-pointers a game. He's shooting 75.8% from the free throw line, which is pretty good. And he's also getting you a steal a game. Now, what's important to note about Luka Doncic's individual numbers, and for example, you may look at his you may look at his three-point shooting, is that he's in his second year in the NBA. Although he's had a lot of experience overseas, he's still in his second year in the NBA. He's still learning the game, and I expect that his numbers will get better, only because of the coaching staff that is available to teams in the National Basketball Association. So probably he has better coaches around him. Then, if we look at his running mate in Kristaps Porzingis, who to me is probably one of the only unguardable players in the entire NBA. Kristaps Porzingis is 7'3" at 240 pounds. 7'3". And when he came into the NBA, he had already blossomed into a very good defensive player. And essentially what we were waiting for was his offense to catch up to his defense. I mean, he runs the floor, he can shoot the three, he can do everything. If you look at his numbers this season he's averaging 20.4 points a game, getting you 9.5 rebounds, and 1.8 assists. He only played 57 games this season, but in those 57 games, he's averaging 42.7% from the field, which isn't very good. He's shooting 35% from the three, which is slightly better than his running mate. And Luka Doncic, he's shooting 80% from the free throw line. And as I said, he's getting you 0.7 steals and 2 blocks a game. I recently watched the game between the Dallas Mavericks and the Clippers, and watching that game, if you saw that game, you would see that Kristaps Porzingis was a nightmare matchup for the Clippers because they really had no one to really guard him. Now, if you look at the Clippers side and their 2 stars, Kawhi Leonard is averaging 27.1 points a game this season, getting you 7.1 rebounds and 4.9 assists. If you go a little bit deeper into his numbers, he's playing about 32 minutes a game this year, which is pretty good. He's shooting 47% from the field, 38% from the three-point line, which is sensational. He's shooting 88.6% from the free throw line, and he's also getting you 1.8 steals and 0.6 in blocks. Kawhi Leonard, the things you need to note about his numbers is that Kawhi Leonard usually puts out very efficient numbers, and I expect that to be the case moving forward in these playoffs, and I'm going to get to the reason why I believe that he's going to be the deciding factor in this series, and one of the reasons why this could be a short series if he plays extremely well. Paul George, on the other hand, for the season is averaging 21.5 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 3.9 assists. What's important to note is that he only played 48 games this season, but since the NBA restart, let's say this NBA bubble, he's averaging 25.5 points a game and shooting over 50% from the three-point line. What that indicates is that when Paul George is healthy, he's a nightmare matchup. And you can see that he's a prolific scorer and he can put up buckets in a hurry. The Clippers are probably the deepest team in the NBA and certainly in this particular season. And they have so many options that they can go to. They can beat you playing small ball. They can beat you playing big. They can pretty much tinker with any lineup out there. They have 2 of the best wing defenders. which I think is going to cause some issues for Luka Doncic. Not that Luka Doncic is not a great player. He certainly is a great player and probably having the best sophomore season in the history of the NBA if we look at his numbers statistically. But when you have him going up against a steady dosage of Morris, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George, these are going to be the three main bodies that are going to be on him all throughout the series. I think they can wear him down, because they're just going to be throwing these excellent perimeter defenders, and at the same time, he's also going to have to play defense on these guys because these are threats that can also try to lock you down, but also try to score on you. And there's this risk that the Dallas Mavericks may have where they may just end up exhausting Luka Doncic in the playoffs. Now, as I said, they have a good complement of players. They have a lot of young players on the Dallas Mavericks, but nevertheless, I think the Clippers experience a lot of their players. Excuse the noise in the background. A lot of their players have had some playoff success. For instance, Paul George, although he's never won an NBA championship, he has been to the playoffs quite a bit. Now, let's look at this team, the team's three matchups that they had against each other this season. They played each other three times. The first game they played was on November 26th in 2019. All right. In that game, the Clippers won that game 114 to 99. Now, if we go back and look at the stats from that game, and we look at the box score for the Clippers, it was a balanced attack, but it was really Kawhi Leonard and Paul George that did most of the damage for them. Kawhi scored 28 points and Paul George scored 26 points, and Lou Williams came off the bench with 21, and Montrezl Harrell chipped in 14 points. And then if you look at the Dallas Mavericks side, Kristaps Porzingis was available for that game. So Luka Doncic chipped in 22 points. Kristaps Porzingis chipped in 15. Dwight Powell got you 10, and Tim Hardaway Jr. got you 8 points in that game. So the Clippers were able to win that game. Now, if we look at their second matchup on January 21st, 2020, this was now before the lockdown in the regular season. In that game, again, the Clippers were able to win that game, and Kawhi Leonard went off. He got 36 points that game and 11 rebounds. I don't think Paul George even played that game, so Landry Shamet had a good showing. He hit 5 out of 8 3-pointers and got you 18 points that game. And Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, the bench mob, Lou Williams came off the bench and got you 16, and Montrezl Harrell got you 12. If we look at the Dallas Mavericks side, Luka Doncic put up beast mode numbers as well. Pretty much put up a triple-double and got you 36 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. Tim Hardaway Jr. got you 13 points. And then Kristaps Porzingis got you 10 points, but they were able to come away with that win as well. And if we look at their final matchup this regular season, when they played in the Orlando bubble, Kawhi Leonard once again got you 29 points. Paul George chipped in 24, and Ivica Zubac chipped in 21 and 15, and Marcus Morris chipped in 16, who was not there, I believe, the other time they faced each other. This time, however, Kristaps Porzingis had a much better showing with 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists, and Luka Doncic had 29.6 assists and 3 rebounds. Now, the thing to note about all of these games is Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard seems to be able to score at will on this team. In one game, Luka Doncic scored 36, but in another game he scored 22. And I think for them to be competitive, he needs to be in the in the low 30s, high 20s for them to have a chance. And I think Kristaps Porzingis also needs to be very aggressive on the offensive end and the defensive end to give the Dallas Mavericks a chance to win that series. However, though, I do think that Kawhi is going to be the difference. If you looked at him in some of the latter games at the end of the season, he looked very explosive, very quick. And I think he's going to be the difference in this series. And I think he's going to put up a lot of numbers on the Dallas Mavericks because they just don't have enough players to guard him. So for me, I do think that Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers are going to be able to dominate the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic in the first round of these playoffs. So what I want to know from you guys is quite simple. Do you agree with me? Do you think that Kawhi Leonard and these guys will be able to dominate the Mavs or not? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this video is also going to be on our podcast on Spotify, so make sure you check that out in the description below. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.